Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us tonight. My name is Katie. I'm from the recruitment team. Um, Before I introduce our presenter, just a few housekeeping notes. I wrote them in the chat, but in case you didn't get a chance to see it, please leave your cameras off and your microphone muted during the presentation, and there'll be a chance to ask questions at the end. And if you have any questions that pop into your head during the presentation, feel free to write them in the chat and I'll take note and we'll talk about them after Sarah is done. And so on that note, this is Sarah Lloyd. She's a coordinating instructor for all of the environmental technology programs, and she has been with NBCC for almost 9 years, so she's full of information. Go ahead, Sarah.
All right, thanks, Katie. Hey guys, so it looks like I've got 2 people signed on anyway. Hopefully a couple more will pop in. I assume that you 2 are already pretty well aware of the program. If you're here today, either you've already applied to be in it or maybe even you've already been accepted to be in my program. So I thought what I'd do is just kind of walk through. I've got a bit of a what I called my orientation PowerPoint that talks a little bit about, I guess, the program as a whole, how it's structured, what courses you can expect to take. But it also talks about, I guess, a little bit of what an environmental tech does. So how about I just open that right up? Let me see here. So if I share my screen, I think I can open that right up. So there we go. So environmental technology. I guess I'll start by introducing myself. I know Katie said my name's Sarah Lloyd. I am the coordinating instructor in the program. There's also 2 other instructors full-time in the program, Linwood Dunham and Jim Lessenaire. Linwood Dunham is an environmental professional himself. He actually took this program a few years ago and then went on to do his undergrad in environmental science and then his master's degree in environmental science. Myself, my background's a little bit different. I am actually a professional geologist, so my undergrad is in geology. And then I went on to do my master's in marine management. So a slightly different background, but I think it plays nice together between Linwood and I. We cover a lot of different courses. He does a lot more of the ecology, surficial type courses where you're looking at plants and animals, some of the water quality and some of the air quality stuff. And then I look after more of what he would call the underground stuff or the non-living stuff. So I talk about rocks and soils and groundwater, and we do a lot of different stuff that way. So we do break it apart in those kinds of distinctions. And then Jim, the 3rd instructor in our program, he has a background in some of actually a pretty varied background in some of the engineering technologies. So he has been our go-to for all of your first year science and math type courses, everybody's favorites, right? But he's a real math whiz, and I think he does an excellent job of explaining different concepts. Students tend to attach to Jim really early on because he's very welcoming and very easy to get along with. So you'll see a lot of him in your sort of first year in environmental technology, and then more so of myself and Linwood in 2nd year when you get into more of the environmental, like directly environmental related courses. So just to open, here's a picture of our students actually out doing some practice electrofishing. I don't know if anybody's ever seen this before. It looks like a Ghostbusters backpack that this guy has on him. But what it is exactly as it sounds. It's electricity. So the electric current is being passed through this rod into the water, and it will stun all the fish in the surrounding areas. So you want to make sure you're wearing good rubber waders when you're doing this, and you keep your head above water because I know we've all heard not to play with electricity in water. But in this instance, we do it as safely as we possibly can. We can stun the fish, you can put them in a bucket, you can collect them for sampling, or you can relocate them, which is a common thing to do with this electrofishing, relocate them to a safer area. So if there was a lot of road construction up above here and they anticipated a lot of sediment and debris going down into the water down here, they might call you as an environmental consultant or a technologist to come in and relocate the fish. So you go in and you electrofish the area, you gather up all the fish, and then you move them somewhere further downstream where they're out of harm's way. So that's something that we do in our 2nd year in environmental technology. So throughout the program, though, environmental technology, what exactly do we do? Well, we talk about a ton of different stuff. Our program is 2 years and it's extremely varied. We try and introduce you guys to just about every different career path or option you could branch off into after taking our program. And it can be, you know, so many different things. But a lot of what we do is we talk about current issues. We try and stay up to date on what's happening now, particularly locally. So what's happening now in the Atlantic provinces, and what we can do as far as helping it or maintaining or even helping industry work in a sustainable kind of way. So a few different pictures here just to get you thinking. The first one up here on the upper left, you can see there's definitely some old logging roads that have been rutted up like crazy. We have water pooling, we have sediment coming into them, and we don't know where this water is draining or if it's being drained properly. And you know, we talk about clear cutting in and of itself and why we have these logging roads and different types of culverts that we can install to do it properly. So it's a topic that comes up in New Brunswick. Logging is a major industry. So looking at logging roads and how we can do this better is a very important conversation to have. Farming, of course, is very important in our province as well. You can see here cattle grazing, and they're grazing right along the river. And one thing that we do a lot of in environmental technology is we test water. We can test water for so many different things, but one of the most important parameters that you're going to test water for is E. coli. You've probably heard of E. coli before, right? It's that nasty bacteria that is found in fecal matter of a bunch of different animals, definitely in cows. So if we have these cows out grazing here, they're eating here, well, they're probably pooping here as well, right? And so when that happens, it can get into the water. And if anybody happens to be drinking this water downstream, it can be very dangerous, even deadly. So E. coli testing would be an important thing to do in this river. And we do that. Our lab is fully equipped to do all E. coli testing, and we will certainly do that throughout your 2 years. Down here, just a little chart showing global warming, right? Warming trends over the year. And I think I like to present this one as a graph because presenting data in an understandable way is a crucial skill that we try and develop in you guys throughout your program. You know, we go out and we collect a lot of data. In your first year, we spend a lot of time talking about how to collect the data, how to get a good sample, how to have proper quality control in your sample. But then as we move into the second year, and we always say this is what really separates an environmental technician from an environmental technologist. And it's that ability to be able to manipulate data and to express data in a usable way. So how can we present it to people and we can analyze it and understand it? And so graphing it, creating good maps, important technical reports are another thing we do a lot of. And so presenting data is very important. We've got some dead fish over here. Obviously, there's some kind of water quality issue. So again, we'd be going in, we'd be doing some sampling. We can test a variety of different parameters right in our lab, and then other things we might want to actually send to a professional accredited lab somewhere else to have that analyzed. Oh, another important trend to talk about is invasive species, and I like this one a lot. Anybody know what that fish is up here? Fishermen? This is a smallmouth bass, and if you are from the Miramichi area, you have probably heard of smallmouth bass. Smallmouth bass are different than our striper bass, okay? So the striped bass that we're used to hearing people fish and talk about in the Miramichi River, they're supposed to be there. I know they're on an upward trend right now where we're seeing more and more of them with less and less of the salmon to compete against. Those are totally normal. They're supposed to be there. What's not supposed to be in our river system, though, is this guy, this smallmouth bass. It's an invasive species. It's from Ontario, from the Great Lakes. It was supposedly imported into Miramichi Lake by some cottagers. Nobody knows the exact story on how it got there, but we knew it was in the lake for quite a while. But in the last few years, we're seeing them come out into the river systems more and more. So we know that they are breeding and repopulating, and there's getting to be more and more. And whenever there's an invasive species, so a species that's not supposed to be here, there is problems. The entire chain in that ecosystem can be harmed by these invasive species. So it could be that it will eat too much of the food and the natural species won't have enough left. It could be that it preys on some of the natural species. It could be that it brings in other foreign diseases that our natural species can't cope with. So there's a whole bunch of different reasons that invasive species are problematic. And so these are just some examples of different invasive species in our province. that we're trying to deal with. The smallmouth bass just happens to be a really exciting one right now because the Atlantic Salmon Federation is working with the Miramichi Salmon Association and DFO on a program right now to try and eliminate the smallmouth bass. And it's a very big program. We've got the federal government involved. I'm actively volunteering in it, and I'm sure I'm going to have you guys involved in it throughout your time here in the college. But they're planning on putting a pesticide into the river systems and killing off this fish. So there's been so many studies, and they're doing a lot of work to make sure they do this in the safest way possible. But it sounds like a really interesting program, and I can't wait to get everybody involved in it. Okay, so, more about water quality. I don't think I have to go into this in a whole lot of detail, but, I talk about water quality and testing for E. coli and testing for sediment and different in these natural water bodies. But another thing that we do in this course is we set you up to potentially work for drinking water companies. So, if you live in a city and you have city water, that means that water is treated. So whether it's from an open reservoir, so surface water, or from groundwater, like in the Miramichi, we have several municipal wells in the city. That water goes through a treatment plant and it gets thoroughly tested to make sure it's safe before it gets distributed throughout the municipality. And so that is a potential job option for you guys after taking this program. Another common job option where many of our students end up is working for industry. And sometimes I think it seems counterintuitive because you think you're taking environmental science to maybe stop some bad industry. But we don't like to think of it that way. We're technologists and we are being trained to work with industry. We don't want to stop all industry. I don't want to see the world shut down. What I want to see is industry find a way to operate that's going to be sustainable for the long term and not cause major environmental damage. I know there's always going to be some environmental risk with all industry, but if we can work with them and we can study how it's being done, there's so many new alternatives coming about that we can really find safer, better practices when it comes to treating wastewater or transporting fuel via pipelines. The new technology that's coming out with pipelines now is drastically different than what a pipeline was 50 years ago. And so, we try and talk a lot about this. We have a whole course in second year where we actually get you out touring different industries, researching how they operate, and trying to come up with ideas on how they can maybe practice better. I threw this slide in here because mining is in my heart. So I told you, a geologist by trade. And so when I think about environmental science, I think a lot about how can we apply that to the mining industry. And mining is very important here in New Brunswick. A major source of income across our province has always been through mining. You can see here, I've got this area circled up here. It's often referred to as the Bathurst mining camp. And so Bathurst being up here, Miramichi would be down here somewhere. And in the middle, in this whole area, there's numerous mines and deposits that have been found over the years. Some of them totally mined out. We have Brunswick number 6 and Brunswick number 12 are two of the biggest mines actually in the world. Brunswick 12 is a world-class copper, lead, zinc mine. Just shut down a few years ago. But since then, there's been a couple others opening. They're redoing up here at Caribou. We've got several different smaller deposits, being explored around the province. At each of these mine sites, there are numerous environmental technologists working. So remember that as a good option for you guys when you graduate from our program. You could get into this. And they would do a variety of different things, everything from managing wildlife on site to water testing to make sure there's no bad runoff leaving the mine site. So you guys are already here, so I probably don't need to tell you that the environmental job sector is rapidly growing, right? There's always going to be jobs in the environmental industry. And that's because, we keep screwing up and we've got a lot to clean up from the past, and we're still working really hard at making sure that things are getting done better for the future. So when you talk about environmental protection and conservation, there's all kinds of good jobs out there in those industries. So I should probably speed this up a little bit. I know I only have an hour to get through this PowerPoint. But, I think when we talk about environmental technologists, then what are your key roles? What can you expect to be doing? A lot of field work. So if you're in this program, I really hope you enjoy the outdoors. You like to be outside, getting your feet wet, as they say. So we are in and out of the rivers nonstop. Waders are probably the most important piece of field equipment that you guys can own, a good set of waders, because we're in and out of the river nonstop. Rubber boots and rain gear are also very important. There's lots of times when we're sent out to do a job and we can't say no, even though it's raining out or it's cold out. So be prepared to be outside in all kinds of different types of weather environments. Yeah, develop environmental programs, collect, analyze, and interpret data. So this is a big one. No matter how you branch off after taking this program, whether you go work for industry or mining or maybe even Department of Environment with the government, a big part of your job, your day-to-day life, is going to be collecting data and analyzing it. And then also public relations. Now this one, depending on where you branch off, a lot of times the environmental technologist on site, especially if you're working in industry, does a lot of the public relations work as well. And so you end up being a bit of, well, I don't know how to say that when I say public relations. You would do a lot of the media releases, and you'd be responsible for making sure that the community, wherever your industry is located, is comfortable and happy with the way you're working. And you do a lot of, reaching out to different communities and groups to see if they have problems with the way your organization is working and if you can't improve it. So a lot of that kind of back and forth consultation with local community groups. All right, I've heard a lot of people say this about us: jack of all trades, master of none. I don't like that. I hate that sentence, actually. But it's, in a sense, I guess it's true. The program is like that. So in your 2 years, we certainly embrace that idea of jack of all trades, because we really try and expose you to all these different areas where you could go in environmental technology. But of course, you're not going to be a doctorate in any one particular subject matter. Instead, we expose it all to you. And then once you get out into the industry, you'll pick where you want to go and you'll further develop your skills as you're learning. Our goal is to get you ready for that intro job. And what you won't learn. No, we're not all tree huggers. I've said this already. We try and work with industry, right? So I got into geology when I was younger because I loved being outside. I loved camping, I loved hiking, I loved ATVing, and I knew I wanted to find a career where I could be outside. And so that old notion of the evil oil tycoon or the evil geologist trying to destroy the environment at any cost, that's not true. Most people that work in any kind of industry like that are here for the same reasons. They're here for good reasons. So we're not trying to destroy the planet. What we want to do is we want to find a way to continue to develop these industries, but to do it in a good way. We really strive to find better practices. Yep, so it's a 2-year program. We already said that. We'll teach you how to take all kinds of samples and manage data. Can be in air, so air quality management, water, groundwater, and soil analysis as well. So if you're wondering what you need to get into the program, hopefully you guys have already looked into this kind of stuff, but you do need your high school math and sciences and communications. Some computer skills are handy. We do have a first-year computer course that you will have to take once you sign up. And I've talked about this, so we get hired all over the place, across the Maritimes, across Canada, even globally. Environmental techs are everywhere you look. There is jobs for environmental techs. So you can work with industries like I've mentioned. There is, around here, a lot of our students tend to go for these environmental consulting companies. It tends to be one of the better paying environmental jobs to work for a consulting firm. Companies like Gemtech or Pinch and LeBlanc are different local companies across New Brunswick, I guess, where you could go work for them and do environmental consulting work. Federally and provincially, there's government jobs. Those always fluctuate. Sometimes there's more, sometimes there's less. Sometimes they're easier to get and sometimes they're harder. Right now, I think Parks Canada is hiring a bunch of people, so there's a good federal job that you could get into right out of college. And then there's other nonprofit groups that will hire environmental techs as well. Just a quick job search. I just screenshotted this. You can type in environmental technologist on any job search platform and you'll get a ton of different job options pop up. So I just wanted to do that really quick to show you that there are jobs out there. And this is definitely what we're saying. So if you've been thinking about environmental technology, but you've also been considering university and you don't know which one to do, you can get both. It is so much more cost effective and so much more practical to come take our program first. So do our 2-year program here at NBCC, get your environmental technology diploma, and then you can move on. You can go right into UMB into your 3rd year of an environmental science degree. And in 4 years' time, you'll end up with both your diploma in environmental technology and your 4-year bachelor degree in environmental science from UMB. We work a lot with UMB, but there is other universities that will also honor that. We just happen to have a really easy agreement set up with UMB and Fredericton. And so that just puts you so much further ahead than any of those other university grads that only have the undergrad, because you guys will have all that practical field training that they just don't get. So you end up being way more employable if you do this double whammy instead of just going to university. So yeah, it ends up being 2 for the price of 1. And you know, we all know that college is a lot cheaper than university. I don't know what a year at university is right now, but I know it keeps escalating. So save yourself some money, start at college, and then here's some of the other universities that we're tied in with, and you can easily switch over and jump into one of their programs and end up in the end with both a diploma and a degree. So it's a really good deal. So just, you know, to list the courses, I don't think you guys need to, you know, really look too closely at this right now, but just to give you a little bit of a background on what we do. In your 1st year, you're going to start with a lot of your sciences. So you do biology, you do chemistry, you do math, you do geology. I also do a course in environmental law, which I think is kind of interesting, as well as ecotoxicology. We do some ecology, physics, you know, the basics. It kind of looks like a 1st-year science program, whether you were at university or anywhere else, except we try and put a bit of an environmental slant on it. And you can see here, there's this other course. This one makes 1st year a little more fun. Environmental field skills. Our environmental field skills involves doing 4 days of canoeing. So we will certify you in flat water and moving water paddling. We also do wilderness first aid, which is a super fun 3-day first aid course where we camp out or we stay at a nice lodge somewhere. And we do probably the best, most hands-on first aid you've ever done in your life. It's a ton of fun. And then into the 2nd year, you can see it becomes a little more tailored. And so this is where we really start to branch off. And you can see almost every one of these courses could be a career path all on its own. Hydrogeology and hydrology, project management, water quality, oceanography, air quality, waste management. There's another one of my courses, waste management. I think this is one that's often overlooked in environmental tech, but a really good year-round job for an environmental technologist is to work either in sewage treatment or in solid waste management, garbage at a landfill. Those jobs don't go away, okay? No matter where you are in the world, those jobs exist. So it's a good potential source of income for you. Not exactly the most glamorous career path, but an interesting one anyway. And then in the final term of your 2nd year, you do a work practicum. So we do 5 weeks on the job training. You get to pick where you want to go. We try and set it up for you. Oftentimes this on the job training leads into full-time work or at least a short contract for our students. So it's a really good one. And you also do an applied research project. And so we try and start this at the start of your 2nd year, get you thinking about what you'd like to study, what you think you might want to branch off into after you graduate. And you pick a project and you would do some, you know, some kind of applied research on that particular topic. And then you present it at the end of your 2nd year. So, I mean, what to expect? I threw out the PowerPoint. I don't know if you've been following all the pictures, but you can see by the pictures, we have a ton of fun. We spend a lot of time outside. We tend to goof around a little bit, but at the end of the day, when we're in the classroom, when we're doing our work, we work really hard. I've been told by numerous people that this is probably one of the hardest programs at the college. It's not easy. Okay, the sciences are no joke. It's still, you know, you come out of this after 2 years and you can go right into your third year of university. So we do have to maintain those standards. So we work hard when we're working. And I always tell students to treat it like a job. If you are there 8:30 to 5:30 every day, you work and you get things done, you don't slack off, you'll stay on top of things and you will succeed for sure. But you do have to be there. Every time we see students start to fail, usually it has to do with their attendance. So they're not showing up for class. And you know, it's not high school anymore. I'm not going to be there dragging you out of bed, making sure you come. I'm not going to call your mom if you don't show up for school. I don't really care if you don't show up, it's on you, right? So that's what it means to be in college. You really need to treat it like a job and be mature about your studies. And then after graduating, I mean, our employment rate is well over 90%. I think it's actually our employment rate after graduation has gone down in the books. And the only reason it's gone down, it looks much lower now. I think we're down around like 80% now. But that's actually not because our students can't get jobs. It's because so many of them are taking up that option of going to university after. We're getting more and more of our grads carry on and go into those university programs. You don't have to by any means. There is lots of jobs available with just this 2-year program. And I think that's important to point out. It's just that a lot of people have it in their head right from the start that they wanted to have that sort of degree behind them. And so we just happen to be seeing a lot of that lately. It is not necessary by any means, but it's there as an option. And then different accreditations. So we are accredited with the Professional Technologist Association of New Brunswick. And then the EP is Environmental Professional Designation, which is a national designation. So once you graduate, you will have these titles to your name, which means you can work anywhere. And that's it. So that's my PowerPoint. I think I ended up talking a little bit longer than I anticipated. I'm going to close that down. And so here we go. I'll stop sharing my screen. And I'll see if anybody has any questions. Feel free to turn your mic on if you want to ask a question, or you can put it in the chat bar as well if you feel like that.
Yeah, there's nothing, I haven't seen anything come in the chat, so.
Okay.
If anyone has any questions, you can just turn your mic on and ask.
Yeah. So hi, Sarah. This is Shiva.
Hi.
So yeah.
Go ahead.
I'm really excited about this college. So what I'm thinking is, I just have a small question. So what kind of fieldworks am I going to expect at this university?
Sorry, what kind of what?
Fieldwork, like any field lessons or classes in the field.
Field work.
Oh, field work. Yes, we do try and get out fairly often. So this year obviously was a little different because of COVID restrictions. We were somewhat limited, but throughout the fall and the spring term, I would say we're outside 2 days a week on average. So we do a lot right in the Miramichi is quite nice where our campus is. We can go just 5 minutes down the road and we're at Morrison Cove, or we can cross the river over to Frenchport Cove. And they're two nice sort of parks, or I guess municipal parks, where we can go. There's a nice water body, we can do testing. So we'll often say that, you know, we've got this big, beautiful chemistry lab at our fingertips in the college, but we don't use it. We almost never use it. Instead, we go down to the river and we do things right there outside on site. So I would say, like, during nice weather, 2 days a week would be my estimate of how much field time we do.
Okay, and one more thing, I just have a quick question, like, what about the accreditation you said? So what kind of accreditation do we get according to our, I mean, does it depend on the field work or does it depend on the credibility of the work we do?
Yeah, so we are accredited. So the, geez, and I'm the worst person to talk about accreditations because that's always been Linwood's department. I'm not an environmental tech myself, right? So I don't have those accreditations. I'm a professional geologist. But it's P-Tech, so Professional Technologist is the New Brunswick Association. And then Canadian, the national accreditation is Environmental Professionals. And we're actually working with Eco Canada right now to get an Eco Canada accreditation. So those are all
Okay.
things, as soon as you graduate, you would apply for those and you would join the association, and then you would get that accreditation.
Okay. Sounds great to me.
Excellent. Any other questions?
Hi, can you hear me?
Hi.
Hello. Oh,
I
you
think I
can
was
hear me?
emailing with you a couple of months ago. Was I not, Dominic?
I talked to you, yes. Oh,
Yes.
you-
Yeah. Oh, that's right. We actually called. Yeah. Good. So
I
you're
was
all set
trying to
to
get, I
go?
was trying to get on. I had it on my screen at 5:30. Then I don't know. I realized I had to get some apps on my computer, and I was late, so I missed the first 10 minutes.
Okay. Well, I think it's recorded, so Katie can hook you up with the recording after.
Sure. Thank you. I guess I don't know if you guys spoke about it. Just the news on September. If it's still going to be the same class, anything changed? Or, I don't know. Probably not.
Sorry, you're really choppy. You're breaking up.
Yeah, maybe I should try my phone if I do this again. I'm quite new to this on my laptop, so
That's okay.
I'm just wondering if anything has changed in September for the way the courses are given concerning COVID, or it's still.
Well, you know, there's still some fluctuation, but I think the college itself has put an announcement saying that we are going to do blended learning. And so they want us on campus 2 to 3 days a week is the idea. And then there will be a couple days of online. We've gotten pretty good at delivering these sort of lectures online. And so I don't mind when it comes to actual theory stuff. We can do it in this format. But then for the more practical, any of the lab stuff or any of the field work, obviously, we'll be doing it in person. So definitely expect to be in Miramichi for at least a couple days a week.
Yeah, that's where I'm at here. This was something I wanted to do, of course. See this first introduction, I guess, to the course. But I'm definitely in the process of trying to find an apartment in Miramichi. I know this is probably not the right time to talk about that, but I'm thinking of maybe going down this weekend or next weekend. I don't know. There's probably no point in me actually going back to visit anybody at the campus, or.
No, there wouldn't be anybody on campus. As far as finding apartments, I think your best bet is probably to search like Kijiji.
Yeah.
Is often, a spot where people find it, and I think on Facebook.
Does it seem to be hard to find a place in Miramichi?
I honestly don't know. I live a good 40 minutes out of town, so I've never tried to find an apartment in town. There's all kinds of old houses right around the college that usually rent out or that have been converted into apartments and rent them out. So there is definitely availability. I've been warned if you do find an old house that's been converted into apartments, to try and make sure heat is included in your rent. So that's my tip. That's my tip. Yeah, when you're out hunting for an apartment, because a lot of them are old oil heated houses that are poorly insulated.
Oh,
so
yeah. No, you don't want that.
So that's the only advice I can give you for house hunting here in Miramichi.
Right on.
You're all set for the program otherwise?
I can reach out to Colby. She's the recruitment advisor in Miramichi. She may have an apartment listing that I may be able to forward to you.
Sure.
Okay. There you go.
Yeah, thank you.
Excellent.
So is your program done for this year?
We're just finishing up. Actually, this is our last week of classes, and then exams are next week.
Oh.
So don't ask my current students how much they like me right now. It's the bad time. Yeah. It's a bad time right now. They're a little stressed.
Okay. Well.
So are there any?
I'm excited to go and get involved with this. I'm very excited.
Awesome. So I'm looking forward to seeing you in September.
Yeah.
So stay tuned. I'm sure you'll get all kinds of information from the college about what days to come in and all that stuff. It'll all come soon. Yeah.
Yeah. What is the actual date that we're supposed to start?
Classes usually start the first day after Labor Day, so after that long weekend.
Okay.
Yeah, but I'm sure the college will send you a whole package, so stay tuned.
Okay, are there any other questions for Sarah?
Not from my end.
Well, there'll be so many coming.
You have my email.
Yeah.
Feel free to send me an email if you have any questions at all.
Okay, well, if there's no other questions, I guess we can, or unless if you have nothing else to add, Sarah.
Nope, that's it for me.
Okay, well, I just want to say thank you everyone for joining us, and feel free to reach out if you have any questions. Maybe I can get your email, Dominique, from Sarah, and see if I can get you that apartment list. See if from what I can remember, it exists, but hopefully I'm not wrong. So I'll see what I can do about getting that to you. And yeah, so that's it for this evening, it looks like.
Excellent.
All right. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you very much. And thank you for joining us. And I hope you all have a great evening.
Great. See you guys later. Thank you.
Bye.
Yeah, you too. See you guys soon.